Gauff is your 2025 Women's French Open champion. I'm Alvin. That's Tory. This is best of three. Gotta give props where props are due. Yeah, it's
game recognized game, Alvin. Game recognized game.
Yeah, and just to kind of level set, like I feel like it's that match finished. It's 5:00 p.m. on Saturday. That match finished about 5 hours ago. So
5 hours ago.
We've had a little bit of time to let it sit, but we haven't talked at all. I have no agenda here. I just wanted to let's just talk through it. Let's just talk through it.
Talk through.
I'll say that I was not surprised by much that I saw as far as like the ebbs and flows of the match, right?
Yep.
Arena came out, guns blazing. She
Yep.
got right to that point of, 4-1, 40 love serving, I believe. And if that goes 5-1, we're looking at something a little bit.
Blitzkrieg.
Yeah, something a little bit different. But like we talked about when we previewed the final, Coco was able to, stop the bleeding, absorb the pace, follow a very simple game plan. On the surface simple, make balls, stretch this thing out, use her biggest weapon, her elite, movement, her speed, her defense. And I was explaining to Matt that was at my house, it's like we used to do this drill, offense, defense, where you would just rip balls at the coach who's standing in the middle of the court, hitting volleys, like very easy for you to handle, and you just got to continue to rip. And the idea is that you are to, as you get tired, as you get a little mentally shaky, you got to find a way to keep doing it. And it's like Coco just said, Arena, we're just going to play offense, defense today. I hope you can finish the drill. And she could not. Okay. Tory Hawkins.
Yep.
What say you? What was your big read? And then we can get into the little reads.
My big read overall, congrats to Coco. She's been playing great for the last few weeks and had a great clay court season.
Two finals,
Alvin,
three finals on the trot.
3 finals on the trot.
Capped it off.
Night and day difference on her final from 3 years ago going up against Iga Swiatek. She's a much better player than them. I was disappointed in the quality of tennis. I have to put that out there. There were moments, especially in the first, a lot toward the end of the third, where I thought the tennis was high level, but there were just so many mistakes.
Who are you pointing fingers at here when you say what? Arena Sabalenka.
She was so emotional that she didn't find kilter until it was a bit too late. I feel like she was mad at herself for blowing that 4-1 lead, not necessarily understanding that Coco was going to come back. She said it in the post-match, well, it wasn't really an interview, the finalist comments, it was an ugly final, and it was.
She said it again in her post-match interview. She said it again.
There you go. You probably saw it. And I don't disagree with her. I don't disagree with her at all. She's being very real. She had a lot to blame for that. And make no mistake, it's going to be an ugly matchup when your best gets matched by another player's best, and your matchup is a true rock, paper, scissors matchup. Her offense, Coco's defense, her power, Coco's speed, right? It's literally Mox Nix. It's just nip tuck all the way through. What I felt the difference maker was in this match today was Arena's emotional state did not stay stable enough for the entirety. And I also felt like she stubbed her toe early in the second, never really recovered, and was mad at herself for both the 4-1, could have been 5-1, and was mad at herself for the stub of the toe that led to, let's face it, it was 2-1, Alvin. Before you know it, it was 4-2, 5-2 very quickly.
Yeah.
And it was a manageable second when she was doing the right things. That's on one side. On the second side, make no mistake, Coco fought her butt off today. I loved how much she fought.
Mm-hmm.
But Arena did not continue to come forward. And had she continued to come forward, I thought she would have had the better end of the business end of this match, because you can't just continue to attack until you finish. If I could take a quick sojourn to Coach's
We
Corner.
haven't visited in a while. Let's head to Coach's Corner.
So let's talk about what offense truly is. The great Nick Saviano has, in my opinion, probably laid out the four types of shots of tennis, which I think are largely misunderstood. You have defense and you have offense, which most people think, but most people think that that's all there is. There's really neutral and there's build. And Saviano would claim to you, and I think he's exactly right, and I think I'll even go further. The majority of your shots are neutral. You get the chance to build every once in a while. And Alvin, for the listeners out there, the coach and me knows for years at every level of the game. You give me a 10 sample shot rally. 7 of those shots are neutral on either side. There is the occasional player, Sabalenka is one of those players, that has a big enough weapon in the serve and the first strike that 4 of those 10, maybe 5 if she's playing really, really, really well, are building, with one of them being offensive. And by that I mean the other 5 are neutral at best.
Mm-hmm.
And in most days, it's 7 of the 10 are neutral. You might eke out 2 of those shots as building. And the only time a player is in defense is when you have that true offensive ball. Let me explain briefly. Defense means you have no time, court, or options. Offense means you have all the time, all the court, and all the options, which means defense and offense don't happen very often. They're about as far away as east and west. The fact that I'm there, you're there, right? But the other 7, because we start off at such a tug of war state, it's pretty much even at the beginning. So it takes a lot, which is our game, right? But I say that to say for this match, you had the weapon of Arena countered by the phenomenal, if you will, counter punish of Coco.
Right.
So you're going to get some ugly, some tenacious, some long, some grueling. And the weather was suspect.
Yeah.
I mean, it was so windy. It was crazy. But again, on both sides. Here's my point. Coach's Corner. If you're going to play the offensive, and we're going to say aggressive, that's a better term, take it on the rise, take it early, take it through your opponent. If you don't have the offensive finish, and let me go back and qualify that, those aggressive on the rise, take time away shots are building at best. And until you come in and finish, you're not an offense.
All right.
You think you are, but you're not.
Let me layer this in here, because I like the way that you've put it together as far as offense. Let's go backwards. Defense, neutral, building, offense, right?
100%.
And this
there's your four steps.
those are kind of your steps in, big macro level, right? So I was explaining this to Matt in that if Arina Sabalenka has to hit 150 shots over the course of the match before she starts to break down, that's fine, because not many players are going to force her to hit 150 shots. I'm using 150 as the number, right? That is her. Everyone's got a limit to something, right? Like you can.
That's her threshold.
You can run a 6.5 mile pace for X amount of miles. At some point, your pace will come down, right? Everyone has I use the term Mendoza line for their ability to continue to do something at a certain level, right? Arena finds herself on offense a lot and her opponent on defense a lot because of how dedicated her footwork is and how big she hits the ball, right? She can take a ball, hit it right past the vast majority of players on a lot of balls that most players can't do that off of, right? You and I are hitting a building ball. She's hitting that as a clean winner going straight through the back of the baseline, right? On the other end of the spectrum, Coco turns what looks like defense into neutral, right? That ball that Arena hits that usually is crossing over the baseline and is stung her opponent, Coco's there. Like let's say an average player is going to be hitting a stretched out slice backhand, float that thing up as a dink. Coco's is fast enough to slide into it, hit the open stance backhand, and now you're back at neutral again. She's going to make you do it over and over again. Arena doesn't usually have to build for very long. She's usually
100%.
finishing. And Coco, that is Coco's weapon. Coco makes her continue to build to a point where you don't feel like there's anywhere to go. I felt like at a lot of points, it's just like, where am I going to go? I can't. It's like playing. It's very similar to Yannick Sinner as far as horizontal movement across the back of the baseline. Like, where are you going to go? And
100%.
I think the key, and this is not hindsight as 2020 because this happened in Madrid. This happened at the U.S. Open a few years ago.
100%.
Arena, it's almost like arena. You're not going to be able to finish with the ball going through the back of the court. It's got to go off the side of the court, which is
it can happen, but not as often. And let's add to your point because you're making a good point here. And she doesn't see it that often.
Right.
That's really, if I may, that's really the issue here, is that most aren't that fast. Most aren't that counter punishing and that fast, and most won't make her hit that same step up 3 times.
Right.
You can hit 2. Most can hit 1. Hitting 2 is extra, but you can finish off with a volley or a swinger and you're okay. To hit 3 of them, and maybe the third one's on your back foot, and you're a little hesitant about going forward or not. That's where this match really turned on its ear, was on that third ball. And at that point, and I give Coco a lot of credit, she hit more big forehands today. She hit more. She came forward more, right? Than I've seen her in times past. And I felt that Arena forced meaning she was trying to still stay in building, trying to get to offense, not realizing she had been neutralized. And that's where she fell apart.
Let me pop this point in, and I don't really have a good place for it, but you mentioned Coco's forehand, and this is the thing that stood out to me today, as well as in her match against Madison, and then to a certain extent against Boisson as well.
Yep.
Your four stages here, defense, neutral, building, offense. Her forehand, which has been suspect, has held up fine all this tournament. You can even say that her forehand has made a leap. But what she can do is she can defend with it. She can actually neutralize with it. She can finish with it. She can't dictate with it. So
dictate, and ironically doesn't pass as well. Ironically, of all the counter punishing, she still prefers the backhand pass.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, that backhand pass is money. Her 2-shot, I love a 2-shot setup. Like if you can, we're still in the corner right now. So if you can take that first ball when your opponent's approaching you, get that first ball down to their shoelaces, right, where they have to go down and pick that ball back up. Now you got a one way ticket to Main Street there, like 2-shot pass.
Broadway.
Somebody mentioned it in the broadcast today. I can't remember if it was Chris Everett. It might have been.
It was Lindsay.
Okay, thank you. That feels better. That feels better. Yeah, I love.
Let me say that as a caveat. Would not have been.
I would have been shocked, but and not to throw shade, I would have been shocked. Lindsay for sure. And they have similar voices. Like you need to be paying attention when you're listening to them without visual. But yeah, the 2-shot pass is so key. It's so key. It's so fundamental, but it's so key. And Coco's one of the best in the biz, getting that ball down low and then passing with a much easier, manageable ball to deal with. But yeah, she was able to finish well with the forehand. Obviously, she defended well on that side. Kept her errors down, which I think we knew was going to happen. I guess those are one and the same, right? You would expect the errors to come off the forehand side while playing defense, but she just plants that right leg, open stance, gets that thing up and rolling, and just makes you continue to just keep.
Right.
I mean,
tons of bug you up, had a lot of height on the ball, and Arena's 5'11", so to get the ball out of Arena strike zone is difficult to do, and she found a way to do it. I want to add one more piece to this.
Please, let's do.
Because Coco doesn't get the credit she deserves off of her tactics. She was a little overwhelmed in the first few. She fought back very, very well. I felt that Coco not only matched the weapons better, I felt like she matched her pace better. When a lot of the errors started happening, Alvin, when Arena didn't hit as big. Arena had a few lucky points early in the second and thought maybe some off pace might hurt. but unfortunately hurt Arena more because she wasn't going for the shots. She then got pissed at herself and went big, and that actually helped Coco get online. It's a very weird situation. Uh, this is a random, analogy, but there was a battleship movie. It was like a realistic movie of the old school,
Like the board
game
game? Yeah.
Battleship. Do you remember the board game?
Yeah.
And the enemy, this alien, was very keen on anything you did to attack it. It read your response, your intent, if you will, because it saw you arming your weapons and such. So the only way to beat it was to bring this old 1960s aircraft carrier, the ones that you and me and probably our kids have walked to Charleston, and the old, the old 1955 USS whatever Constitution or whatever, kind of and they had to literally get this aircraft carrier up to speed because it was analog. It wasn't digital. It wasn't nuclear. It wasn't all the things that this high-level alien could read. Now, the point I'm getting at is with the analogy, with speed, with the ability to defend at the nth degree, they were dead in the water. Anytime you would press fire, the alien fired before you did and countered and had a force field, right? When you didn't know, the alien was caught off guard. To my point in this match, when Coco sliced, Alvin and I hated that she had to do it. She sliced more forehands and hit more balls short to almost bring Arena in.
It was a nice play, though.
I have to give her credit. It was a great tactic.
It was nice inside out forehand slice, like dying low to the backhand, like kind of in the service box. Like, what are you gonna do with that ball? What are you gonna do?
What are you gonna do with that ball?
Arena?
What are you gonna do? You gonna come in? What are you gonna do? You gonna come into my
lift
backhand?
On a lift and land two-handed backhand? Like, what are you really gonna do with that shot?
Arena missed that ball more times because Coco gave it to her, which is what I say, and we said it a few podcasts ago. Sometimes athleticism doesn't give you the credit for your strategy and your tactics. It was very smart. It was very petty, and she knew. Forget everything you heard. Let me give you the ball you don't want to get the ball I want. And isn't that what we call matching up well, Alvin? She matched up well at the end of the day. Doesn't matter how it looked, doesn't matter what it was. Wendy, too? Come on. What are
two people do the same thing, and it gets called two different things. You know who else was really, really good at that shot?
Who's this?
Fed. Fed would take that backhand slice. He'd do it on the backhand side, not the forehand side, but instead of slicing it deep, he would slice it short. Right. So you're going to have to come up and you have to lift, and he's right there. Boom, knock it off. So it's a very, very, very good tactic. It looks a little different because Coco's not the most fluid of players with her dexterity, but you can't knock the hustle. Like, she knows what she's doing. She's a two-time Grand Slam champion. Right.
Alvin, I was very impressed by it, and I wanted to make that point because I feel like sometimes the black players don't always get the credit they deserve for being smart as well as being athletic. And sometimes that athleticism, and mind you, she is athletic. The athleticism,
that's an industrial strength rubber band right there.
Of the compliments, but she played that match very smart for the package she has today.
Yeah,
I will, going forward, I hope she gets that forehand bigger. I hope she gets to serve better. And she will. She's 21 years old. She'll continue to improve. And I was very happy to see the matchup the way it was, and she sees the moment. I was very, very proud of her. I was also happy to see the match continue to get back up on a crescendo, as much as the second set was a bit of a decrescendo, because they started getting back to big time tennis. And then Coco as well started hitting the point much bigger. It wasn't like she could only hit a slice, that's what I was happy to see the last few games finish up on. She held serve for the win.
I did not think that was going to happen. I was like, in this world, does Coco Gauff step up to the line at 5-4 to serve it out? Like, I was like, I've seen some ugly double faults out of her. She was steady today. Yeah. She even hit an ace at 30-15.
Right. That caught the outside.
Yeah. I was like, woof.
It was maybe a 15-all. The one that she caught out wide on the deuce.
Oh no, there's one. No, there was on the outside because it was down the tee, and it was a slice. Yeah, slice tee. Right. But yeah, it was. I was thoroughly impressed. That's a I was shocked that it was almost exactly like we said it was going to be. Like, if Coco Gauff is going to win this match, it's going to be take the initial onslaught, neutralize, make
Yep.
it,
Get your foot,
just get notched in,
extend
and then extend
the
it,
rally, extend the
extend the
match.
match. Exactly.
100%.
It's interesting that her quarterfinal match against Madison Keys was almost
Yep.
exactly the same.
Yep.
Almost exactly the same. Madison was up
They
4-1, 40-15 serving.
right.
Coco comes back, gets into a tussle, gets into the tiebreak. Madison wins the tiebreak. Same
Yep.
arena wins the tiebreak,
Yep.
but you didn't feel like they were actually winning the match. It just like and
100%.
Coco, to her credit, gets out of the chair out of the first set with the exact same look on her face in both matches. I'm good.
Right.
I'm good. You're in my match right now. If we've played 13 games and it's we've been separated by one tiebreaker, then I'm in a good spot. And she it's tennis is a beautiful, quirky, interesting game with so much depth.
A game of emergencies, a game of runs, a game of tactics and adjustments, and it just continues to play out. I was happy it went 3. I kind of thought it would. I kind of thought Coco would win in 3, but I did not. You never understand the points in between, right? That's always where it gets a little bit. I'm going to say the word precarious.
Right. So let me ask you this.
Go ahead.
Let me ask you this. Not ask you this, but it was something I think of note. Last 3 Grand Slam finals, Arena Sabalenka has taken place in all of them. U.S. Open champion, Australian Open finalist, French Open finalist. She has faced an American in each one. Jessica Pegula, Madison Keys, Coco Gauff.
Yep.
Looking pretty good. For the old US of A. Now, granted, these women are all very established. Right? Nothing new around here. They've all been around the block for a minimum of 5 years. Coco's about 5 years into this now, and Madison's been around since, like, I don't know, World War II. It feels
20,
like
20-ish, maybe at least 10 years.
She turned pro early, right? She was like one of those last of the ones who turned pro like 15 or something like that. So it's been 15 years, and she's like not 30. I think she's like 29. It's weird. But yeah, it's exciting times. I don't know what to take from that. I'm not gonna stand up here and say like American tennis is where it needs to be, because there's not a lot of like heavy contenders right behind that. Yeah. Like Navarro, iffy. Sophomore slump a little bit here. Peyton,
but still in the conversation.
We got a ton of girls in the conversation. Ton of women in the conversation.
I would certainly say, and shout out to Ola Malmquist, and Catherine Rinaldi, who've been part of the whole USTA national training and pro development for a long time. They've done a great job with girls and ladies for a long time. Ola was a standout at UGA probably 30, 40 years ago, way back, and has been with USA for a long time. And shout out to our boy Jermaine, who's been a part of that whole conversation as well with player development, a lot with the girls coming up. Obviously, spent a ton of time with Venus. Had some time, a short stint with Naomi as well. So there's a good think tank around that group. Lots of commitment, lots of resources, and lots of focus on that group to have them at that stage. And I don't think a lot of countries realize the commitment it takes to stay the course.
And the togetherness too. Those women are all very close as well, and they practice together down in Florida. It's a good thing. It's a good thing they've got going.
That. You want that, and without that, let's face it, it gets a little ish. You know what I mean? And so I think that's a big thing. I don't think there's much to it other than the happenstance and the serendipity of them happen to also reach. Each of them have had very different paths to get there.
Yeah.
One's a billionaire's daughter who wasn't that great of a junior, but just willed herself through grit and ball striking to get herself in the top. Nobody predicted Jessica Pegula to be a pro tennis player, let alone top 100, let alone top 10, let alone top 5. And I think that's well established. And the girl has just continued to say, what else can I do? Tell me what I can't do, and I'll prove you wrong. Coco, we all knew. Coco was one of the players who played my tournament when I was the tournament director of the girls 12s out. She, in fact, her second year come through, she had just won the clays. Coco Gauff, Coco's real name is Corey, by the way. Most of the listeners may not know that. Known by Coco. Corey, the
Dad.
dad, Cory, not Cori, called me up and said, Coach, she's not going to make it. She just finished off a heck of a tournament, won clays a week or two before my hardcourt tournament for the girls 12 hardcourts, and said, give that spot to somebody else and letting you know ahead of time. She needs to rest. She's dinged up. But I knew then when you're winning clays at 10 years old in the 12s, you're pretty good.
Yeah.
You're on a rocket ship. You know what I mean? So as she was, and as we now see, so always knew she was she had that prodigy type label at that time. I saw her 4 or 5 more times during it. Alvin, there was a tournament I went to, and I want to say it was Louisiana. Had to be Louisiana. It was a back then. You remember the old
Gross.
designated? It was an old
Gross.
designated in Louisiana. I want to say Baton Rouge.
Bocage or something. Bocage Tennis Center, maybe.
Bocage.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Bocage. Back then, she played it. And when I tell you, Alvin, she almost got worked by the pusher of the South in the first match. Pulled out this again. She's playing all ITFs and playing pros. This is probably his 18s. Coco's got to be at that point 14, maybe. Playing up girls, and this girl that she beat was probably about the same height and size, just a little older. When I tell you the girl pushed with the best of them, I mean, she wrote a whole chapter on winning ugly in the addendum to Brad Gilbert's book. And Coco was down a set and a break to this girl, and people starting to gather around the match like, ooh, this is supposed to be that Coco Gauff girl.
Yeah.
So good. And Coco found a way to pull that match out. And I remember telling a couple of my buddies and my coaches at that tournament, to have the savvy and the trust in your game to come back. You haven't played a junior tournament in a while, let alone in the South. But to get endorsed, she had to play a couple matches, right?
Sure.
And so she goes on to win that match, was going to win the tournament. Alvin, she got better every match. And when I saw that, I talked to Corey then. I said, she's playing some good ball, man. She's playing some real good ball. And she needed this kind of a win. Alvin, it was nip tuck the whole time. She wasn't just blitzkrieging girls. And that's what you see. She's got a target on her back, right? And obviously, the third, girl you're talking about, Madison, was also one of those just 10 years earlier. We knew she was going to be good. She's tall, she's strong, she's, Madison's got to be every bit of 6 feet. If they say 5'11", I'm calling BS on that. She's every bit of 6 feet, and massive serve, massive forehand, and within 4 or 5 years of going pro, reached the finals. Obviously, lost to Sloan in the U.S. My point being. Each of them have taken very different paths. Now, I say that to say, happy that all 3 of them are there, excited for the U.S. American women's future, including Emma, including Peyton, including McCartney, including all the rest of them that are coming through. But I will say that the USTA needs to keep their foot on the gas to continue this onslaught, this barrage of play.
Yeah.
And recent rumors give me the impression that they might be slowing down the cruise control a little bit, and that's on.
We shall see. Let me ask you this: as we, not to rush to put this behind us, but okay, we've kind of hit the halfway point here. 2 Grand Slams behind us, and we'll get into this maybe a little bit at a deeper level, maybe next week, 2 weeks from now, when things slow down a little bit. But what does Arena need to do? I'm not going to say obviously. Evolve as a tennis player no one's perfect, right?
Yeah,
and it takes
this is just the latest iteration of Arena.
Well,
make no mistake.
And I don't know if it's even an Arena issue. It seems like it's more of a matchup issue, and that's the beautiful part of our game, right? It's not many players are going to be able to pull this weakness, which I think it is a weakness, right? The ability to kind of be a little more creative when playing offense, as opposed to continuing to trust on 1-2 shots, going power through the baseline, not being able to maybe hit the heavy ball off the side, come in and finish with some dexterity. So, what does that look like for Aryna Sabalenka next week as she starts to prepare for Wimbledon, part A? And then how does this change your view, or does it change your view of Coco? Because I'll give you my opinion on part B, and then we can come back to the first one. I don't think it does. I think Coco's issues are still the issues. She will continue to work on them, right? The second serve is suspect. Clay helps, I think. Helps that kicker. allows her to do a few more things with it. Like she doesn't have to be as
Agreed.
aggressive with the kick serve to get the kick that she wants. So
100%.
that's one thing. The forehand. I mean, there were instances in which her forehand got tight and started to drop short, which ended up
Inside the service box.
yes, which ended up like it was so short and so unexpected that it
hurt
hurt Arena. Right? I was like, that's not on purpose. That's tight. That's tight.
There was a couple that barely cleared the net.
Right. And so you can't even get up to that ball. Like, what do you like? Yeah. You have to. She's catching it so low. She has to lift that ball, and now she's in the service box and
missed approaches. She made on the tape. She was not ready to come in. Didn't see it. Didn't know it was there. Let me go back to answer your first one first. Wemby for Sabalenka and beyond. Continue to come forward. The whole point of my coach's corner conversation was you cannot live in build. Build is just that, building toward offense. And if she continues to come forward, Alvin, she'll be fine. You know the one tactic that I never thought this player would get, and he's actually got phenomenal volleys now,
Novak
is one Novak Djokovic.
Yeah.
He has completed the avatar training and has all.
Well, he's been on tour for 20 years. I mean, you got time.
To my point. And so does Arena. She has time. I'm saying from the standpoint, this match will force her to do so. She will realize how many, they're going to go back and review the tape. You know, her Anton is going to look at her and going to be like, Arena, look at how many times you could have come forward and knocked off the volley. Look at how many times you were at the net knocking off the over to the volley and you won the point easily. You simply did enough to make it work and you didn't do enough and continue to keep your foot on the gas. If you're going to commit to your aggressive style, we have to finish. And at that point, when you stayed back, Coco's second, third ball got deep, not the first, not the first. And so it's attackable, still attackable. And Arena and her team, trust me, they continue to get her this good. They're going to continue to make her come forward and finish off. She had a couple of clutch backhand volleys, Alvin, forward or overhead solid. If anything, I think that's the only issue she has is her continual evolution. I like the word adaptation of what she's doing already.
It's almost like the same thing you would talk about with Fed when he got 100%. With Ljubicic. Like if 100%. You want to get past this problem, this is what you have to do. And I can imagine it's for a player, right? Arena's like, well, I'm still number one in the world, and Fed's like, I've won all these Grand Slams, but like even if there's one player. If we're doing this for one player,
thank you.
That one player has denied her 2 Grand Slams.
That one point has the antidote to your game. Going back to your B part of your question with Coco. Coco has to continue to trust the forehand and trust the serve. Alvin, I had the luxury several years ago. Martin Blackman was the head of player development. Yeah. He had several coaching conferences, if you will. He had one for Asian American coaches. He had one for Black American coaches, obviously African American coaches, and he had one. He was trying to get all of us, each of us, in our own, in our own bailiwick, so to speak, to speak to each other as a group and to double down, in a sense, on what we're doing as coaches and what we can do. Had to have been a player or had to have coached a top player to even be invited to this kind of a thing. I felt honored to be part of and be in the mix. I remember being in this mix, Alvin. And when the subject of Francis Tiafoe came up, and this is probably, Alvin,
2014,
2015, maybe earlier, give or take. So he's just coming out of the juniors, just played the first match or two in the pros, right? Everybody in the room was complaining about this young man's forehand not big enough. The technique is jacked. Serve's not big enough. He's not that big, blah, blah, blah. And none of them were wrong. I'm sitting next to Chip Hooper, who had one of the biggest serves in the 90s, sitting next to me. And as big as I was, he was clocking 140, 145 back in the day with the old school Prince Graphites, a guy I looked up to. And I'm just watching the room. I said to myself at the time, I said, you know what? It's real easy to nitpick a player that's still evolving, still adapting, still maturing. But one thing you can't, you can always measure the size of the dog in the fight, but you can't ever measure the size of fighting the dog. And so my point to it is, we now know Tiafoe's now been a top 5, whatever he's been, and player in the world. He's got the same as a Grand Slam. Didn't seem like that forehand technique was such a big deal after all. Now, did he have to work on it? For sure. Was that saying that he could just forget about it? No. But I say it to say we're real quick sometimes to throw dirt on the coffin on a certain thing, and a player who's still coming into their own. And I would like to say, I think Coco, the more she has success, will trust the serve. She'll trust the forehand, and she will start to kind of put a Heisman out to the naysayers about what she can and cannot do. And this match today was a big part of that. Does she need to have the ability to hit a little bigger on the step up? Absolutely. Does she need to have the ability to take more swingers? Of course. But Alvin, Iga Swiatek won this tournament, what, 3 times?
3 in a row.
She's got no huge step up forehand. 4 times?
4 times.
She's got no huge step up forehand. She's got no huge down the tee 130 serve. Coco hit a couple of 115, 117. She hit a couple of serves today that I was like, oh, hold on now.
Yeah, Coco can hit can hit the big one. It's the consistent hitting spots with the kicker on the second serve that seems to be the issue. But I digress. Yeah.
She's coming into her own. And this match to me was more about Coco's fight and her belief more than it was about her game development. And her game has developed.
Well,
she will only get better, and she will only improve. And success, has a funny way of having compound interest. She'll continue to double down.
Let me say this. Then you mentioned this in the beginning about this match was ugly, and I think Arena in her post game, like on court trophy ceremony, she said some things that I was like, that's a little. She said, I'm sorry to my team for this horrible final, and then she said this with a microphone in her hand, and I'm like, okay, you're in a position right now where she's crying. She just lost. Okay, maybe there's a loss in translation right there. Maybe she meant something different than what she said. But then said the same thing in the post match in the press conference, and that's when I'm like, nah, we're gonna cut that. Like we don't do that. That's out of pocket. Like at that point, you need to just kind of just take your L. Coco played great. Yada, yada, yada. And also, there are very few beautiful matches. It's very rare that 2 players play great in a tennis match. It's very rare that they play great at the same time during a tennis match. And it's quite often that the player you're playing against, especially in the final of a Grand Slam, number 1 versus number 2, that player might force you to play some bad tennis because they're pretty good too. Right? Coco can't really take the offense. Why? Because Arena hits the shit out of the ball. She's the best player in the world. She's gonna make things that she made Louis Bosson look like a junior, right? And she's pushing her around the court with the forehand. Can't do that to Arena because that ball's not sitting there, right? And on the other side, Coco's gonna force Arena to do some things that she's not that comfortable doing, because she doesn't have to do it because of Coco's own skill set. So I just tennis matches are chaotic by nature. Weird things happen. We're running around doing, this is not drills. This is not the ideal circumstance. We're playing on a natural surface in a windy environment. 14 days into this event,
raining, misting.
Everyone had a nice warm up in the last week of this tournament to get into this. Arena's match against Iga was a fantastic preparation to be, rock solid, ready to go in this kind of environment. Coco got the first look version of this match against Madison 5 days ago, which I think helped her immensely. Just kind of the rhythm of the match was, the quality was better, but the rhythm was the same.
And I would say the two of them played very similar.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It was like a very
to your point.
Nice dress rehearsal.
It was a darn dress rehearsal was a good word. Let me segue in here a little, Alvin, and let me say this. Number one, Arena's emotional in general, and I like her emotion. I like her keeping it real. I'm not disagreeing with her that it was an ugly final. There were times it was ugly. The second set in particular, the majority of the second set was
Yeah, but
ugly.
when you lose, you don't get to
Right
say
here.
that. When you lose, you don't get to say that.
And mind you, she did not discredit Coco in the mix. And I think that was key. What I'm getting at is Arena's perspective of what quality tennis is the semi with her and Iga. Knockdown, drag out, hitting the ball big, indoor tennis, right? We're both Eastern European. We know how to step in and take the ball early. What do you not think? What does every aggressive kid, right, in juniors hate
Pushers.
to play?
You hate to play pushers.
Oh, playing a pusher.
Yeah, but that's my point. Like,
correct.
we all get we all get
Go ahead.
reduced back to like our 12-year-old selves. Like,
Yeah,
and that's
at the core of what it is. So her perspective won't allow her yet. Her perspective at 37, her perspective at 47 is going to be like, you know what? I didn't do that very well. And now that I'm thinking back on it, good for her to recognize that. Wow. You know what? We may see Arena's book in 10 years and talking about, I now fully understand all of tennis. And I see the other side better than I ever saw it before.
Maybe.
The pusher gets discredited because they play a ball you don't like and they win points the unattractive way, right? In reality, it's a ball you can't handle. No one ever complained about beating the pusher 6-0, 6-0, and they were so glad they got all those reps at those swinging volleys. You complained about the loss. So I say that to say she just played, in my opinion, probably the best set of ball striking you've ever seen with her and Iga. And in her opinion, that's quality tennis. So to see the slice forehands, to see the kicks and the buggies high to her backhand, in her mind, I made a ton of mistakes. Therefore, mistakes means ugly, and ugly means I didn't play my best. I get where Arena's at, and I know what you're saying. I'm not. By no means am I justifying Miss Sabalenka. I think I come from a place where I understand. At over 50, I appreciate the other side better than I used to. I will also say this, Alvin. Arena has some maturing to do, and her comments showed that. She also said she'd come back stronger. I believe her. She's continued to come back stronger. The girls made every final. I want to say in the last 3 or 4 consecutive. I think that record also belonged to one Serena Williams, and that's a big deal. Yeah. So I say that to say, Alvin, both players, and even at 27, Arena's got some maturing to do, both on understanding what she doesn't do well, and the need to continue to adapt and evolve herself. And again, Coco cannot walk away from this match saying I'm so good, which I know she won't, and say that my game is just where I want to be. She can look at it and say, I improved upon my 2022 final. I have won my second Grand Slam. I'm starting to believe. Tennis, I said this the other day, tennis is the better for her having got here because there needs to be a foil to Sabalenka. And she is now proving herself to be Sabalenka.
So in the last month, she has gone 1-1 with Arena. Well, let's take this. Yeah, she's got 1-1 against Arena. She lost to her in Madrid, beats her here. Remember, she also tuned up Iga a couple weeks ago as well.
Pretty good, by the way.
Yeah. So what do we? Who is Coco Gauff's problem at this point?
Arena Sabalenka. Still a problem. And on hard court and grass, it will be a problem.
Well, I mean, let's on grass we don't know, but we have a sample size of at least 2 on hard court and clay, and Arena's the one holding the plates while Coco's the one holding the trophy. So I don't know. Is it a problem? Is it a problem?
I think it's a problem, and I'll tell you why. A few years ago, U.S. Open, Arena folded. Coco received. She did not take. In this match, Coco notched it up and allowed Arena to lose. She still didn't take. We need a match where Coco continues to counter and then takes into and not lets the other player come down.
Under what circumstances does Coco take, though? That's not her.
Counters.
Yeah, she counters.
Holds serve, and makes Arena break down without the set, without the lead, without all of the momentum. Arena had the match, Alvin. You and I both know that. Arena stubbed her toe. And we can't get out of here without realizing that fact.
No,
Coco
I refute that. I refute that. Yeah, it looks like it.
Refute it all day
It
long.
looks like it.
Refute it all day long. Tell me the first set wasn't 100% in Arena.
Tell me why we don't play just one set. I don't care.
You're talking to the guy that likes 5-set tennis, and I'm.
Oh my God, we're talking. Stop it.
Number 2,
what
Alvin.
No,
go ahead. I'll finish. This is my point. She's improved.
She pushes, or you have to play the entire match, and Coco forces her to a point where she cannot continue at that level for the duration of the match. And I'm sorry, the match is not over until we shake hands. So I don't care how we start. I don't think Coco cares how we start. It's about how we end.
I'm a Coco Gauff fan.
I'm not carrying her cape. Like I'm just saying. I watched this match today. Matt's dying over here because he is a Sabalenka person, and I'm like, I'm here for tennis. I'm here for tennis, and tennis is better off for this match. And I think I cannot allow us to say that there is a best way to win a tennis match, or that.
No. And by no means am I saying a best. I am asking, you asked me who her problem was. And I'm telling her problem is still Arena Sabalenka. And should Arena Sabalenka not stub her toe, Arena Sabalenka is hard to deal with. And I'm saying it's also the same for Arena Sabalenka. The two are now becoming a rivalry, Alvin. And Coco had to win today to make it a rivalry. Until you win that second, you think, you got lucky that one time. Now it's a rivalry. I'm going to go further. Alvin, you can win a match through your own skill and just clear ball striking and play.
I am better than you.
I am beating you is the term I want to use. And I can let you lose. For 2/3 of the second and third set, Coco let Arena lose. I will not debate it with you. We can agree to disagree. But from my perspective, it's what happened. I will also say she did better than the last time where I thought Arena folded, Arena caved. She just did. But here's the thing. She did what she had to do today, and she showed the holes in Arena's game. Now, the third time they play, Alvin, we are seeing the beginnings of what could be Chris and Martina all over again. And I love that because tennis needs that. The players need that. Mac and Board, we mentioned in the last podcast, you need these rivalries because these rivalries push you. Do you realize, Alvin, midway through the Chris Martina rivalry, Chris started coming to the net and Martina started staying back? These are the kind of adjustments I'm talking about that people don't fully understand because they knew they had to against this type of player. Now, why am I saying that? Because that's the progression. That is the full avatar status. You got to do it all. And I really feel like that's where we're going. I know I'm getting philosophical.
No, I can't let go of this. There is the Federer way to beat people, the beautiful way to beat people with the big forehand and the good serve and the nice fluid movement, and we all have this vision of the way tennis is supposed to be played, right? I think if I had to be very specific, I have an issue with the phrase "stubbed her toe." It's not a race; it's a fight. She didn't stub her toe; she got her shirt pulled, right? It's not you're not running this race by yourself. She didn't trip. She got hawked down. You take the after the 4-1 lead. After the 4-1 lead, we went 17-9. That's a comprehensive beatdown. I don't care what it looks like. I don't care what it looks like.
I will agree with you on the fold, and I will agree with you on the turn. But even the mighty Fed himself didn't beat down people all 20 Grand Slams. He put you in tough situations. He held serve. He continued to put, and as he even so eloquently said in that graduation commencement speech, I only won 54% of the points of my career. So I want to make sure we don't get off on a on a matter of semantics here. Fed, as great as he was, and my favorite player of all time, did not beat people all the time. And I would also say Fed was benefited by Nadal being his foil because he had to progress, finish, and fully develop the things that he wasn't as good at. And I'm only mentioning to you, this is the start of a great rivalry. I'm not saying that this was Arena's match to win. I'm simply saying that Arena now realizes that she has offense that's incomplete. And I'll also say in that same breath, Coco has defense that now needs to be able to finish and do so sooner and not let players run up 4-1, 40 love leads on her and act like she can come back routinely.
Yeah, coming back is not a strategy.
Coming back is not a strategy.
It's a nice to have.
Had Arena come forward, we'd be looking at a different score. And I think her camp knows that. Both camps know that. And more importantly, we as viewers, as fans, are going to be the recipients of better tennis down the road. And I am putting them in the category, Alvin, with two of the best of all time. I don't like Chris's commentating at all. But you're darn sure will know I will give Chris Evert all her props as a player. One of the best of all time, period. And I will then, which qualifies my statement as Serena being the GOAT, because of how much better she was and for how long she was that good with so many contenders. Without going backwards, these two ladies are single-handedly keeping the rivalry, which makes tennis so great on the women's side, alive. And I'm glad that Iga's back in the conversation. I'm glad Boisson came up and threw a monkey wrench in the mix. I am so glad that Paolini is there. I'm so glad that other players who are starting to come back are looking good. I'm happy Raducanu and Naomi are come back.
I was happy to see Justine in Ardennes. Justine,
yes,
at the trophy presentation. That was so cool. I was like, look at her.
Two or three slams, Alvin. 4 or 5 slams. Players start to become legends. And Coco is well on her way now. Arena was already kind of leading that charge. But as you said, Alvin, you so eloquently said this, we're watching history in the present. And it's a great thing to see. And I'll be honest, I'm a little bit excited. And I don't know the last time I've been this excited to watch pro tennis. I'm excited for the game is right now. And for a long time, I couldn't say
the closer I've found in the last probably 4 years of extensive, like really locking in and being a week in, week out type of, as a fan, one pays attention to the game and all of it. It gets better the more you pay attention. Like a lot of fans, especially in the States, tend to tune in for the slams and you're looking for the names that you know, but the stories are in the names that you don't. The stories are in the Ludmila Samsonova taking Rybakina, deep in the third in Strasbourg right before. That gives you an insight into what you could expect. And then when she pops up in the round of 16 of the quarterfinals, you're like, oh, who is she? Versus, oh yeah, I kind of saw this coming. She looked good last week.
Magda Linette in the Australian.
Absolutely.
I mean, you get these players that you're like, dude, who is she again? And all of a sudden you're like, whoa, and to my point, and it's continuing to get better. I want to make one quick shout out to Anton Dubrev and
the Rock. Anton the Rock.
Right. I want to give, because both of them have been with their players now for several years. And I'm going to throw a little dig at your player, Rebecca, who's been through probably more coaching.
Leave her alone. Leave her alone.
You know what I'm saying?
Alone. She's growing up.
They have had consistent coaching and direction at the ship. Emma Raducanu, immediately after her win at the U.S. Open many years ago now, she departed ways with coaching staff and thought she was this, that, and the third. Now you heard it right here. 5 years or so running, I think, with Arena. I think Daly was with Coco even during her first win at the Open with when Brad Gilbert was at the helm. He was still part of the team, and now he's been there. Each of these players are reaping the benefit of consistency. And one thing I know, one last quick trip to Coach's Corner, parents, leave your player with a coach long enough to get everything you need from them before you shove off for greener pastures. There is some consistency that is there. The player understands the coach's terms, understanding the way they're looking to play, and the coach understands the player. Their their ups and downs, how best to get the information out, what terms to use, what they gravitate to, what they don't, which comes through a little bit of trial and error. The quicker you change, and I know many a parent to just hop, skip, jump and be a jump rider, so to speak, in the coaching situation because they feel, oh, that coach must be good. That coach and that player who's pretty good. But go back. That player was with that coach for probably 3 or 4 years, maybe more. And that what you're seeing now is the culmination, right? You're not seeing last week. You're seeing the culmination of a lot of years of development. Stay patient with it. Your kid's not as good as you may think, and he may be benefiting from consistency. If there's been terrible this, that, and the third, and you need a change, the coach has been inconsistent, therefore the consistency is not there at all, fair enough. But even then, look for some things that are good and find some things in that coach. That's my last
Fair enough. Let's quick look forward. We got 5 weeks of grass court tennis. All right. We got 3 weeks, 3 weeks of lead up, 2 weeks of Wimbledon. Yep. We got 5 weeks. I like to call it silly, not silly season, but like ain't no one training on grass, right? 2 warm up events is.
Bet your butt the English are.
Oh yeah, Draper's on. I saw some clips. Draper's on the court. Yeah, everyone's on grass right now. If you're not still playing in the tournament, you are on grass right now. Right. But grass is no one's making a ranking on grass like some people can make one on clay. Let's put it that way, right?
Fair enough. Right.
So with that being
no boosters of the grass.
Exactly. So with that being said, you get 1, maybe 2 warm-up events depending on, how soon you're out of the French Open. Some people will be playing next week. I love the contrast between, today and tomorrow on our televisions, the courts are red. Come Monday, you turn on Tennis Channel, the courts are going to be green. And it's
my background screen will change as of don't sleep.
Right here.
Yes,
we're not too far away.
Yeah.
I took that picture, by the way. That was right before Felix was getting ready to play in 2019 when I was there. So I say that to ask, as we look forward to Wimbledon on the women's side, is there what can we carry forward here? Like, what can we carry? I feel like this is like the F1 equivalent of racing at Monaco. Like, it don't make any sense. It's its own problem altogether, its own set of whatever. You can't really train for it. It just is what it is. It's a shooter's paradise, if you will.
Yep.
Is this the time where Arena knocks this one off? Like, she's been sick or injured or not allowed to play in the last 3 of these.
If history and this year has been any indication, Arena will be in the final once again. Will she win it? I'm not sure. But one thing's for sure, she will likely be in the final, or darn sure close. I will say this for Arena Sabalenka. And again, I don't misunderstand your words that they were harsh and they were a little dismissive of what actually happened. I understood what you were trying to say. I will also say that she's a bit of a realist. She's Russian, for crying out loud. I mean, she's going to say it what it is. The Belarusian notwithstanding, she's Russian. You know what I'm saying? I say it to say her serve's big. Her forehand's big. Her returns are big.
That'll do it.
Her grabs.
That'll do it. So I said it's a shooter's paradise. That's all you really need.
You said shooter's paradise, and she's Klay Thompson, Steph Curry.
Right? Yeah.
I'm just at some point, and with the little touch of Jokic, I don't know how she doesn't get to the final. Whoever beats her, if they beat her, will have to have the best returns of their life. They will have to take advantage of an off day of serving. They will have to take advantage of her being a little dinged up. And if as the great Adam Gusky, shout out to Adam, what up, Goose, said, hope is not a strategy. You have to hope that she's off. You have to hope that she's dinged up. You have to hope that she is not playing at her best. And if that's the case, buddy, if hope is your strategy going in, buddy, that's a 80-20 Arena all day against the field. Just say, I'd say 70-30, but just say.
Yeah, I'm with you. It would take we haven't had a consistent champion at Wimbledon in quite some time on the women's side, right? It's been a roulette of champions. So I say typically the profile of a Wimbledon champion is someone who can serve big, forehand big, Krejcikova last year, different. It was different, but
Yeah.
she's very deft at the net coming forward, so on
Yeah.
and so forth.
Great hand.
But anyways, yeah, I'm pseudo excited for it. Whatever, grass is grass, and then we
Who are you most? Give me the top 5 that you are most looking forward to, coming off of how well they're playing. Right. I think we both appreciate a player like Boisson, as good as her run was. A, she might make the tournament because the ranking's too low, and B, game doesn't really match up well on the
sure,
grass. Let's be
yeah.
honest.
So on
So,
the women's
okay, who's
side,
the only reason I'm giving her love? Women's side, who you like?
Arena for sure.
Done.
Former Wimbledon champion Elena Rybakina, give her that one. Dark horse Matt. She won the tournament. You said big serve, big forehand. That's Rybakina special right there.
You're
It took
right.
a
I
gutsy
give her
effort from Iga just to keep her from progressing in this tournament. So let's not act like we got a problem here. It took a 4-time French Open champion to take her out of this event, right? So don't stay with me.
still giving her.
Stay with me.
Who's banned from the tournaments?
Stay with me.
Shout out to my coach.
Um,
who's watching the match from Gilles Tavern.
oh my god. Madison Keys is a dark horse, right? She showed that she can do it when it takes more than we thought she had at Australia, and I think like I said, shooter's paradise. This is like right up her alley. Like I don't know if I trust it for 2 weeks. But that's I always say that about Madison. She my heart. After that,
my only problem, by the way, is you say her as dark horse, Australian Open champion, the biggest serve on the tour and the biggest forehand on tour, shooter's paradise. She's on paper with just stats and skills minus
I say she's a
WTA tournaments. She might be the favorite.
No, I say she's a dark horse because if she has an off day, right? There's no the gap between her A game and B game is a lot bigger than Arena's. That's what
it's. You're right.
That's my
Grand Canyon Riff versus a Kraken.
It takes it'll take 7 damn near perfect days for her. 4 and 5. I mean, I guess you could put. I guess you have to put Paolini in there. She did final the event, but then you could put a lot of people who have final the event. I don't know. After those 3, I don't really feel that confident about anyone else potentially having a better chance of doing well at Wimbledon than anyone else. That's what I'm saying. Like I can't say Andreeva. I can't really say Coco. That when you start going hard low to that forehand, like that's a whole different set of problems, right? And then kick serve won't kick.
Kick serve
won't kick. I was thinking we should have Bobby come and join us to talk about what it really takes to play at Wimbledon, because I haven't played at Wimbledon, you haven't played at Wimbledon, but Bobby has gone into the belly of the beast
at Oringi Park, and the ball hit back to me off the feed, went sideways, and I was like,
ooh. It'll fry
lumping.
It'll fry your hips up. But yeah, I think it's a whatever after that. You could say, watch this. You could say Jessica Pegula should do well at Wimbledon. Ball stays low. She stays low. Right? I would probably put her right there at 4. And then if I have to go 5, let's get Raducanu weird. Like let's throw Emma in there. Why not?
Of why not is a great word and a great expression.
Why not?
I'm with you on that.
What say you?
Arena number 1. Arena number 2. Dialogue. Number 2 is Madison. Just because of matchups. I'm talking straight matchups. I'm not talking history. I'm not talking anything else. I'm not talking how they're playing right now. I would have to put in there the returns and the on the rise are ridiculous. So you can't not say Iga. From where I sit, I would have to say JPEG for sure. and JPEG and Iga to me are a 3 in my book walking in. I would tell you, Alvin, that Rybakina begrudgingly makes my
Hey, there you go.
5. And I would also tell you that as much as it pains me to say it, there's an outlier out there, the likes of Ostapenko, the likes of, you know, I'm trying to think of somebody else who has this is going to throw you off for a weird one here. I don't rule out an older, stronger player who can have a strong tournament of their life, like a Vondrousova or a what's my tall left that hadn't done anything since she came back. Kvitova, I feel like they have the
Former
chance
Wimbledon champions, both of them.
So my point is, I give them that rounds up my top 5. Big serve, big forehand, can lace in the corner, can volley. That's what I'm getting at. I really feel like it'll be between arena and the field. Let's be honest.
Let me throw one more in there. Talking about Shooter's Paradise, Amanda Anisimova. That's my actual dark horse.
100%.
That makes sense.
For sure. I just haven't seen her do much at Wimbledon.
Sure. I mean, hell, neither is Iga.
But to my point. Yeah. But Iga's got enough return, enough slams in her belt for me to at least consider her. To my point, if I had to round out the 8, Amanda definitely makes my ideal, my dream quarterfinal situation.
Fair enough.
For sure. And I'm so happy that the names that are now filling out that 8 would be great, are going to be great. And I say great, they're all great, but are starting to be so contentious that it's truly going to be a bit of a tug of war, an 8-way tug of war. All obviously with, you got to go through. Her.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. I mean, you just go through her. And hey, you heard it right here. Coco is not out of the mix. She's continued to develop. Got a backhand return this all day. Showed a lot of not just speed. Showed a lot of great returns off that side. To your point, the kick don't kick on the grass. I get that. Has a decent slice. She's showing some tactics she's never showed before. We'll see. The only thing hurting Coco, in my opinion, is what hurt Madison, Australia. She won the French. Right? That's the biggest thing hurting her. Is a little bit of an exhale. You know what I mean? And that it's a very short lead up. So to go into the Wemby, still celebrating the French, it doesn't bode well.
Okay. Well, we'll leave it there. We're talking about Wimbledon as if tomorrow is not basically a national holiday. Happy Center versus Alcaraz in the final of a Grand Slam for all that that do observe.
How great was the French for the women to end with this kind of a match, and then tomorrow to finish off with the cherry on top with Alcaraz and Center. This has been a great.
It's gonna be fun. I don't even want to talk about it. Nope. We're gonna wrap it up. We're gonna stop right there because we'll come back and we'll talk about it tomorrow. I'm Alvin. That's Tory. Best of 3.